Hey, we're Saints. Father Chris here, Deacon Greg with us. Welcome to our crucifixional live stream. Glad to have you, beautiful people, with us. What's happening?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Nothing. Everything's good. How are you?
I'm great. Tell me,
That's nice.
what are you reading?
What am I reading?
Yes.
I'm reading an interesting book called Why Religion is Obsolete. And why religion is obsolete in America specifically, and the decline of organized religion. And
Really?
yeah.
All right, that's interesting.
Pretty fun.
Maybe we have to talk about that one day.
Maybe.
All right, good.
What are you reading?
I am reading, aside from the Bible, I'm reading a book called The Art of Impossible by a guy named Stephen Kotler. And I've also got another one going called 10x is greater than 2x. 10x is better than 2x, whatever, by Hardy and Sullivan. That one's good too.
I like that.
The Kotler one's fun because it's neuroscience, which I just have recently become fascinated with, like the brain and how it works, and really ultimately for getting into flow, that state of mind where like you're so focused that, time goes by and new creative ideas and all that stuff came up with, or at least identified by a guy named Csikszentmihalyi from Chicago years and years ago, 60s, 70s, whatever. But the thing I like about flow is that in flow, so many creative ideas and people come up with new and mind-bending concepts and ideas that they might not have otherwise come up with. It's basically because of the dump of all the neurochemicals at the same time, which puts you into that state of flow and so on. So it's creative. And I think to that point, it maybe we just get started. That leads us well into somebody must have been in a state of flow because they came up with something new and creative. We're going to talk about it a little bit today. I don't know, kind of walk us through it, Deacon Greg. I mean, we saw recently there was a Chinese company, and I think it's Kaiwa, Kaiwa in English. I think that's what it is. Forgive me if I got it wrong. But they created and say they've created and are ready to launch in 2026 a humanoid robot that can carry a child.
Yeah.
Do you have any you have all that stuff, images?
Yeah, there's a neat picture on there of Chinese company developing the world's first humanoid robot with an artificial womb to carry a baby.
Yeah.
I'm very uncomfortable.
I'm a little uncomfortable.
And when I first saw it, it reminded me of two things. First being The Matrix.
I see what you did there.
And the second being in Superman, the Genesis Chamber. The idea of the Genesis Chamber is that Kryptonians could not have babies anymore. And so they created this chamber that looked like the Matrix, where all of these babies were being grown and harvested. Anyway.
Kind of crazy.
The future is now,
yeah.
I guess.
Well, in thinking about this whole topic, then all this stuff that came up, I think we both can concede that we are certainly not authorities on this topic.
Yeah.
The ethics of it shouldn't be. We're going to talk about a bunch of things today. And I don't really know what to do with it. I mean, it's at the time of you and I filming and recording this just popped like yesterday or day before. So we haven't even had enough time to really think through and process it. But in the initial conversations that you and I had with our team and everyone here, it made us, it's created a lot of ancillary thoughts that are, I think, again, using the word ancillary to this discussion, but really perhaps even more important than the conversation about humanoid robot mother, birth giving, surrogate things, whatever. Anyways, like some of these topics I think are, they're in my mind, and I think in yours, are born out of the idea of this robot thing.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. This robot thing takes my brain and just goes running. Like I said to you earlier, and I will reiterate it. Like I'm very uncomfortable on a variety of levels, but because of that discomfort, because I don't know really enough. Like let's be very clear. The last time I took a science class was first semester of junior year of high school.
You didn't have to take science in college?
I did not. I was a music major. They had us take acoustics, which is all about sound.
There's science in sound.
Yeah, it was not that. This
Isn't there
was
that
this
song,
is how
the,
we're gonna
the
get.
Simon and Garfunkel song,
Yeah, the sound of
Science.
silence. Yeah, that's the sound of silence.
Look, you can make fun of me. There is a song by the Beastie Boys called "The Sounds of Silence." Sorry, of Science. Yeah, Paul's Boutique, greatest album of all time.
That's fantastic.
All right, keep going.
But my point in saying all of that is they gave us acoustics because they're like, oh, you're musicians. That's cute. We're going to give you something that you can actually pass.
Yeah.
Because science is not really my forte.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
I do.
Forte.
I got it.
It's a musical term.
Yeah, I got it.
But it really just like, I don't know. Maybe because I'm not really prone, but it's like, it
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about the science, as you said, because that's not what we do.
Yeah.
But it overall, like the whole idea is just a little bit unsettling.
Yeah.
And I can't really put my finger on why.
I'm with you. I think it needs to I said it, you said it, I'm going to say it again, right? Third time's a charm. We're not here to make today, at least, decisions or, definitive, declarative doctrinal statements on this. I mean, we just haven't had enough time to talk through things, study, see, all that kind of stuff. We are not scientists, neither one of us, nor are we scientific experts on anything, let alone this kind of stuff. So we're not really talking about it, meaning the humanoid surrogate. But that as a trigger made us think of a lot of interesting things. One of which is, you asked the question, like we were talking with our team and one of our team, Aaron, was talking about the ego of man, right? Like, can we? This is what they're asking. Can we do this? How did you say it?
I think that often when these topics come up and we start getting into the ethics and all of that stuff, like the question is always, can we? And the question is never, should we?
Yeah.
Right. So I think that with this, like why some of that discomfort comes in is it's like, look at me, look at what I can do. And I'm going to just do it because I can. And, is the question being asked, should I do this? Whoever this guy is that's in flow, I think his name's Zhang, that came up with it. And, really is like the mouthpiece talking about this product is like, should we be doing this? Is this something that is going to provide real benefit? Is this, or is it just something that we can say now, look at me, which is ultimately what ego is, right?
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this case, should we, or can I? I mean, there are a lot of times, not just in science, I can even probably, if I'm honest and confess about myself, there have been a lot of times in my own life where I've not asked if I could, not asked if I should take a specific action or behavior and, just stuck around on the, can I? Am I able? Yeah. Am I allowed to? Or if I was younger and my parents said, no, you can't, well, I'm going to do it anyways, right? I'm going to, that whole thing, which ultimately leads to what I think is personally a more interesting conversation. What this kind of thing leads into, this robot thing, is putting ourselves in the place of God, right? I mean, and that sin we saw start all the way back with Adam, right? Like, I mean, that's the whole
line.
Yeah. For me, that's the line. Yeah. I'm with line.
Right? I mean, like Adam's whole idea, you talk about it all the time when you talk about Genesis, is the idea of the rib. Like he didn't find a helper that was fit for him.
Yeah.
And then he says, this is now bone of my bone. Like it's something that comes out of Adam.
Yeah.
That is part of Adam. That is almost Adam's own kind of creation.
Yeah.
And now he says, okay, now I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. He's mimicked himself.
Yeah.
And that's human hubris.
So let's talk through that. Excuse me. Let's talk through that. You and I are both, intimately familiar with that line. And many of our audience may be as well, but maybe there's some new faces. The Genesis story. I mean, let's just go back and forth on this and just kind of walk through it, because there's so many things there that, particularly that Genesis 3 verse 5, when the devil tempts the woman, all right. So in Hebrew, Adam, most people think of it as a dude. The Hebrew word Adam means man. And then That's in Genesis 1:26. So let us create man in our image and after our likeness.
Mm-hmm.
The very next verse, which is 27, all the way through chapter 4, Adam switches to ha-Adam, meaning the man. That HA sound is the article the.
Mm-hmm.
And it's talking about humanity, human beings, right? Now, people always say, why is Adam a man? Because in Hebrew, Adam is a grammatically masculine noun. That's why in English it gets a he
Mm-hmm.
and not a she or an it. In Hebrew, there is no neuter. There's no it. It's masculine or feminine. That's all they've got in their grammar. That's important because why? So you know this too. I mean, tell us, what's the counterpart of ha-Adam?
Well, you've got ha-Adamah.
Very good. Tell me.
Look at that.
Look at
me go.
Well, what is that?
But ha-Adamah is the ground.
The ground.
And there's a relationship that they lay out for us clearly, that is laid out by the author of Genesis, that there's a relationship between ha-Adam and ha-Adamah, which is the feminine counterpart of ha-Adam. And that relationship is embedded into man's purpose when God places him in the garden in 2:15 and says that he's placed there to till it and to keep it.
Right.
Like he needs to be doing that work. He needs to be serving the ground, taking care of the ground, working with the ground the same way that, it goes together.
Yeah. I think the fact that ha-Adam is made from ha-Adamah it shows there's an intimacy there. It's almost like that the man is supposed to be the husband of the ground, right? You quoted chapter 2, verse 15. It says to till and keep. That's not what it says in Hebrew, right? In Hebrew, the word abed is to slave the ground, to serve the ground.
Right.
And so he is there to be the proprietor of it on God's behalf, he the man. Now, it's fascinating. Let's keep going. So in Genesis 1, he's created last. In Genesis 2, there's a retelling of the creation account, and it's reverse order. The man is created first. And ha-Adam is made from ha-Adamah, right? That's important. The man is made from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then in subsequent verses, all the rest of the stuff, his buddies, the animals, the plants, all of, the mist, God causes a mist.
Yeah.
And each of them comes from ha-Adamah, right? So the man himself and all of the rest are from the ground, which is to say, God has clearly blessed the ground.
Yeah.
And then what happens? He says, hey, God, hey, Adam, I'm going to give you creative power. Name these things.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever he calls them, which is creative in and of itself, right? Very quick aside, for those who have kids, you know this, right? When you name your kid, they become that name. You create that person, right? Like, it's a stupid story, but my mother told me that they had considered naming me, not Chris, but they had considered naming me Brian. And I'm like, Brian? What kind of name is Brian? I'm not a Brian, right? Now, had they named me Brian, might I look like a Brian? Do I look like a Brian?
No.
I don't know. I look like a Chris. But you see the power of that naming.
But if they named you Brian, you'd be living the life of Brian.
I would be, because my life is mine. I knew where you were going. I could see it. Oh, get off the
That was a
cross.
clear roadmap.
Yes. So funny. Anyway, so it's created. God lets Adam name everything, which is a creative act. Then what happens?
He doesn't like any of them.
What do you mean?
He says that there is nothing fit for him.
Yeah.
And he says he wants his own helper fit for him.
Yeah.
So God puts him under a sleep, takes a rib. And then woman is made. Yeah. And he says, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man, not out of the ground, not out of the feminine counterpart, out of man.
Why are you pointing at me so aggressively?
Because
you're
it's
angry.
Huge. And then all of a sudden, the text tells us this beautiful passage. Therefore, a man leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on in that too, right?
For sure.
The fact that it uses the word cleaves is always striking to me, and I know it's English. I don't know what it is in Hebrew. I'm going to give you ample time while I vamp here for a minute to look that up, because to me, cleaving to your wife and the two becoming one flesh reminds me of a butcher and the butcher's cleaver, because the process of separating the meat so that you have the piece of meat that you want to take with you at the butcher shop requires this butcher's cleaver, this like massive action that they have to like slam down on the meat and really do it. And it's like insane. And it's absolutely insane to me. And that's the text, right? Because the process of Adam now having what Adam wanted means that you're always stuck with that. The process of removing yourself from what you think you want versus what God has provided you. And they always tell you, be careful what you ask for, because then you're going to be stuck with that, right? So my wife and I got married. It was wonderful. And then we went on our honeymoon, which was also wonderful. And we were sitting there on the beach and I had to sneeze, but we were holding hands because we were newlyweds. And so I had my drink in one hand and her hand in the other, and I had to sneeze.
Did you ask her to hold your beer?
No, I took her hand and I brought it up and I coughed into it and my arm, and our arms were intertwined. And she looked at me and she said, "You can't do that." And I said, "Yes, I can. The two become one flesh." But it's like we're joined together in that way. That's the whole point. That's the cleaving.
Yes.
And you need a cleaver to separate the cleaving, not beaver cleaver, a butcher's cleaver.
I don't have to say all that, but I will tell you what I found.
Please.
The Hebrew word is dabak, which is defined English translation. How it is used in English is abide, cleave, follow close, joined, overtake, pursue hard, stick, cling, cleaves, clung, clings. Anyways, it does mean, so, that the idea in all of that is that in that whole passage of Genesis, like God made everything from the ground, including the man. Everything, including Ha-Adam, came from Ha-Adamah, and it was not good. At the end, he saw that it was very good, right? But for the man, no helper was found fit, even after he got to name them all. And most of the time, people assume that that's like, oh my gosh, what that means is that, woman and husband, man and wife, woman and man, sex, complementary,
yin
unions,
and yang.
yeah, all that stuff. But I don't think that's what it means in Genesis. At all, because like you were saying, God made all these things and they were good, and yet nothing was found nothing was found fit for the man.
Yeah.
Meaning
by the man.
Right. He didn't find anything to be helpful. And so instead of taking what God has made, and it all came from the ground, he took from his rib. He took some of him.
And made more of him.
And he made more of him. Right?
Yeah. And got all excited.
Yeah.
And said, like, look at this. Yeah. This is wonderful. And there's that pointing again. Yeah. But that's why
that's
the line,
bone of my bone,
flesh of my flesh. And she shall be called woman.
Yeah.
Whoa, man. Because she was taken out of man.
Yes. Yep. Out from ek. Min in Hebrew.
But it's not the female counterpart to man. The female counterpart to man is
the ground.
The ground.
Right.
The female counterpart to man eventually changes. The text changes to that isha.
Yeah, bravo.
Yeah, man and his woman. Look at me go, little buddy.
I'm so excited.
Like, I ate some crayons this morning. I'm really ready. But it's this idea that like the feminine, the counterparts, the words change to produce a different reality, and that reality is the ego of man.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's how I read it too. So what you said about ish and isha. So Adam is man, is in the humankind. He is Ha-Adam. After he takes some of him and makes more of him, which, as you and I both kind of concur, that it's the rib, is like it's creation of ego and hubris, which is the sin that we're talking about. He then says, "This is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and join to his wife." The words in Hebrew now, he's changed them from Ha-Adam, and ha'adamah to ish wa isha, which is, again, you can hear it, the same word, male and female, basically, husband and wife.
Yeah.
It's translated all over the place. Sometimes you see, like, for example, isha becomes woman, or sometimes it becomes wife, right? So anyways, you can even see that now it's transitioned. And then, boom, tell us. I mean, take us chapter 3, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, all hell breaks loose in chapter 3. You've got the whole thing with the snake and the temptation,
Right.
and the blaming and the passing of the blame.
Well, what's that key verse in 3:5, which is what we're talking about?
The woman that you gave me.
No, 3:5. Before that, the serpent says to her,
Why did you do that to me now? Like, come on, man.
You know these things. But the serpent says to her, what? Did God say anything? He said we can do whatever we want. We can eat anything we want. Just we can't touch from that tree. One tree will die. You won't die. What? And
You will become like him.
Yeah, you become like
knowing
God.
the difference between good and evil.
Yeah, but the statement is in verse 5. Yeah, I got it right. For you, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, that's the sin of arrogance. That's the sin of hubris. That's the ego. Boom.
And that's the full circle completion of the path that Adam set on when he wanted his own thing, when he didn't find what was fit for him.
Right.
Because ultimately, he's trying to become God himself.
Yeah.
He's trying to become like God.
Like God.
Which is really the ultimate ego of man, is trying to become like God.
Which is what we're talking about today in this whole thing, which is interesting. What's that code, Aaron? The Genesis challenge. We started a challenge. We'd love you to join us. What is it? Yeah. So we started here in our local community, but also for our Warrior Saints crew, the Genesis reading challenge. We're going to go through the entire book in 26 days. Is that right? 26 days. So basically 2 chapters a day is basically what it calculates to. Join us on it. Visit warriorsaints.org. I know Deacon Greg's got it up there on the screen, and it's there, right? Where is it? On the homepage. Okay, so warriorsaints.org. Sign up. You get, and type in, there's the promo free month, all one word, and you have access to the Genesis series. So it's going to give all of our audience the opportunity to follow along as we go through this in our teachings in a deeper level. But the statement. So, anyways, join us. We'd love to have you. We're having fun with it. We're having fun here with it too. Ultimately, the point of that whole rant before you and I is to say that this was. The first sin was man becoming, or at least trying, to become like God.
Right.
And that's born out of his ego. As opposed to abiding by God's commandment, which leads to life, he train wrecks it by following his commandment, his own will and own desire, step by step.
Without question. That's exactly what's going on. And I think that's where we kind of shift back to this overarching discussion and go into kind of like the next natural conclusion. The sin of man, that ego of man, ultimately finds its full expression in this idea that I can have it all, that I'm going to do everything.
So before we get to there, I mean, is there reconciliation to this in the scriptural line?
Yeah. Go for it.
The rest of scripture, I preached about this yesterday. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
The scriptural line is God he gives us a blessing, in this case, the garden, and says, you're free. I give you life. Just abide by my commandment. Don't eat that tree. There's the sin. They broke the commandment. And then there was judgment, where they were cast out and died and returned to the dust. And then there was a new story, a reconciliation, a healing, a repentance of some sort, a second chance. And then boom, it goes to, Adam's son, Cain. And then it goes to Seth, and on it goes, Noah, and so on, Abraham. And the story all the way through Moses, it's the same story. That Genesis 1, 2, 3, 4 story is just repeated throughout the rest of the Bible. Yeah. And every single one of them gets it wrong, whether it's Abraham or even Noah. I mean, he gets drunk after he gets out the boat, right? Lot, Abraham, Moses, he committed a sin and didn't get to enter the promised land. Like the only one, Joshua he kind of escaped. David, oh my gosh, train wreck, right? He's the only guy in the Bible who broke 11 of the 10 commandments in one episode, right? Like craziness with Bathsheba. And it goes all the way to Solomon, and his descendants, because they are in this new garden, this new promised land, they broke the commandments and worshiped other gods. It says at the end of 2 Kings in chapter 24 or 5, I can't remember exactly, but the Nebuchadnezzar enters. The Babylonians come and they conquer and they take away they capture the king and his wife and his mother and all the people, and they just take away the gold, and it's the destruction of the city. They were cast out from the new garden. And that story just goes on and on and on and on. You see it in Ezekiel, you read it in Psalm 78, you see it in Isaiah, you see it in Jeremiah, and on and on. The only difference maker, if you will, in this story is Jesus Christ, who in his own garden, which we talk about Gethsemane, that Matthew, I didn't have you put it in, sorry, but Matthew 26:39, and that whole area, Jesus is in his own garden. And he is negotiating in some sense with God. And I don't say that crassly, but he does not want to go to the cross. It says, that verse, Father, if it be thy will, let this cup pass from me, right? And it then continues. And this, like, he was doing the same kind of thing. You could see that he was tempted, at least. He must have been tempted, I'm sure. Like, get me out of this, right? With this statement, nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will. And I mean, I think the scriptural message is telling us it's a tale of two gardens, right? We say that all the time. Garden of Eden and Garden of Gethsemane. One was the right way to go. One was the wrong way to go, Adam, and one was the right way to go, Jesus Christ. And by disobeying the commandment, Adam leads to death. By abiding by the commandment of God's will, Christ goes not to death. He goes through death into an empty tomb, into eternal life, right? Like, again, once they subscribe to the Genesis challenge, when they finish, they can watch, subscribe the Matthew series, which where we talk about all this kind of stuff. And we even go through this, the juxtaposition of the two. Anyway, so Christ conquers on the cross where Adam failed.
It's great.
I was just drawing the line.
Just a good line.
Well, that's the biblical line, right? That's scripture.
Yeah. I mean, I joke all the time, somewhat flippantly. Scripture is the same story on repeat. God makes commandment, man breaks commandment. God gives man a consequence, rinse and repeat, right? Like throughout, it's just this overplaying, this line played out time and time again, and then you get to Christ who breaks the cycle.
He breaks the cycle. Yeah. But he breaks it by allowing himself to be broken.
Yeah. He essentially allows for the circle to be broken.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap up this section, you asked the question at the beginning, because we were just talking about those robot things, but can we versus should we? And I think ultimately, I guess the right answer, at least we have to ask.
Yeah.
In anything we do, should we be doing this? Is it according to God's will? And I would say, which I think you would concur, if it's not, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And if it is according to God's will, there may be sacrifice and struggle that goes with it, but go get some. Right.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to be warrior saints anyways. We don't care about that crap. We're after it. It's going to be hard and we want it. So there will be struggle and strife and all that kind of stuff. But it might be a good thing just to throw out to our warrior saints. And then we go to the thing the next one you were talking about. Can we is not the right question. I mean, I think there should be exploration and, people, we went to the moon, right? Like that's huge. That's ridiculous. Yeah. I know it's not a big feat anymore, but in the early days, yeah, it was huge. I mean, and is this that kind of a thing? I don't know. That's a different question, but can we? Yes, go get some, but there's got to be that measure of should we as well.
Yeah, it has to. Once we ask, can we? If we don't ask, should we? Then we're gonna go down the Adam path. Right. And then that path leads to this idea that we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want it. Like this idea that we can have it all. This idea that we can, you do you, boo boo, and all the stuff that we talk about all the time. It's this idea that we can have it all. One of the things that really struck me in there was an Economic Times article about this whole thing. And one of the things that really struck me in that article, I'm gonna throw a screenshot of it up on the screen, was this idea, and this is where this kind of the can we have it all idea came from my mind. It said the humanoid robot incorporates an artificial womb embedded in its abdomen designed to carry a fetus through gestation and deliver a baby. The technology aims to provide pregnancy alternatives for individuals seeking to avoid biological gestation burdens.
Wait, what?
Yeah, biological gestation burdens. So, I mean, like this is some weird idea that we're going to have whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want it. We want to have a kid, but we don't want to have to go through the process of having a kid.
Yeah.
We want to have a kid, but we don't want to have to go through all the stuff that goes with it.
Morning
the
sickness.
nausea, the
stretch marks,
fatigue, the ultrasounds, the doctor's appointments, like all of it. And then the actual process of giving birth, whether C-section or whatever. Like we want to avoid all of that stuff. And in our avoidance of all of that, in our asking the question of, can I have it all? Like, I think there's something missing when that happens. I don't know. What do you see?
No, I agree. I mean, that's, there's music about that kind of stuff. I want it all.
Or nothing.
And I want it now.
Oh, there's that too.
It's in your head now, isn't it? It's in my head.
Yeah, but I was going the other direction. I want it all or nothing at all. No.
That's not where I went. But that's good.
I went to a different one with I want it. Anyway, go on.
Well, okay, coming back to it. I mean, you're absolutely right. I was joking about nausea, morning sickness, stretch marks, all that kind of stuff. But something you said about like it popped in my head too. Like we're soft. Everybody in this world is so soft. We were with somebody a few nights ago. You and I were talking about it, right? Well, you were with us. We were at dinner and they were talking about how, the levels of schools in our state, there's 1A, 2A, 3A, and all the way up to 6A. And, some athletes in the bigger schools are better than the other ones, at the lower schools and so on. And I forget how it all went, but the conversation basically said that, that some of these kids aren't tough and so on. And I mean, think about that statement about avoiding pregnancy discomfort or whatever it's gestational burdens.
Yeah.
Let's make it easy. Look, I was present at the birth of both my children and there watching and all that. And I mean, beautiful, amazing, like, holy cow, I watched a person come out of a person, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't participate in it other than being there, holding her hand and, just madly in love with her and these girls. But she did all the work. And it did not look like it was fun and easy work, right? It was, it's work.
It's work.
And carrying those children, like you said, morning sickness and nausea, whatever it is, the cravings, the fatigue, they're always hungry for, like my wife wanted weird things, like she was craving certain, all this stuff. And but it avoids all that struggle. And for me, that rant and rambling is a problem because it's struggle, like, lions are born in the fire, man.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And so if you try to take away too much fire, where are the lions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Kierkegaard said that. I think it was Kierkegaard and I'll turn it back to you after this, but he said, I think I'm going to paraphrase it and get it hopefully as close I can, but something to the effect that the only struggle that mankind will have in the future is that we have no struggle.
Yeah.
And so however long ago, I think Kierkegaard was like the 1800s. I mean, he saw this kind of stuff coming. Anyways, look, I'll stop with it. I watched my wife carry and give birth to those kids, and she's ferocious.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to meet my wife alone in a dark alley. She's tough. I mean, she's fought through things, and she's a lion. Anyways.
But it goes back to Christ in the garden in a lot of ways. You said that, that lions are born in the struggle. The struggle is what produces us. If Christ didn't have that moment in the garden and didn't then show us an alternative to the avoidance of the struggle by saying, nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt, and show us the way through being that following of God's commandments, following the will of God, living crucifixionally, then we never would have seen that the struggle is where we are forged.
Yeah.
The struggle is the way that we are
Yeah.
fought through.
Yeah.
And this idea, this can I have it all? This idea of wanting to avoid the pregnancy. I mean, it's bizarre to me. There was a YouTube video about the topic of those robots that went down the rabbit hole of, he said the line, reproductive freedom, which will basically potentially liberating women from the burden of having to carry babies anymore. And I'm like, that's bizarre, because everything that I was taught growing up is that one of the most beautiful things that women can do is to have children.
Yeah.
And so this idea that we now are trying to liberate from that is going so far down this rabbit hole of I can have everything I want, however I want it. And then having a kid just becomes another piece in that puzzle. Really just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know what it is. It's to me, I'm struggling with that idea that there's something to be lauded in the idea that we're going to still be able to have a kid, but avoid the beauty of the process of having a kid.
Yeah. Look, that leads maybe to our next topic, that we can eyeball down the road about the family and husbands, wives, marriage, all that kind of stuff. But to your question at this point, I mean, I know you were talking about, you said it earlier, you may have said it or wrote it, whatever it was in our notes, but, to avoid pregnancy and being a girl boss,
Well, that's the idea of having it all, right? Like you can't have a kid and still be successful at work and still be doing all of these things.
right.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
Right? Like my aunt is a phenomenal human being. And she got married later in life, but then they had two beautiful children, my beautiful cousins. And she started at her company right out of college as an entry-level position, worked her way all the way up to where she was a VP, was in charge of HR, but was the VP of this company, even owning a stake in that company. And she still made it all work.
Yeah.
Right. And her husband played a huge role in that. My uncle's equally awesome. But and she gets so upset when she hears this idea that she's not able to have a family because if she wants to have a career, she has to have one or the other. And she got put down in the business world in some ways because she was trying to, was having a family and doing all of that stuff, and then got put down and looked at as though she was less than as a mother for having both. And this whole idea to me is like you are pushing an agenda that is taking the idea of motherhood and minimizing it to something that could then be synthetically done by a robot. And to your point that as we go down a different rabbit hole, that's not what motherhood is.
Yeah.
Motherhood is not just
It's a beautiful thing.
having pushing out something.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that.
Yeah. I mean, your aunt, whom I also know and think is amazing, shows us, but that it can be done. But the prevailing attitude, or at least one that's out there, and some people have a hard time with it, is that they're avoiding pregnancy because, it's it will get in the way of me being a girl boss.
Right.
And which, look, I've got two daughters and I'm raising them to be monsters, right? I want them to go out and conquer the world and just, get it. And they're amazing, ridiculously amazing human beings. They may choose to marry and raise families, but I'm giving them and equipping them with all the skills that I can give them, just so that wherever their life takes them. The problem I think with this whole one or other, I either am a mother or I am a girl boss type of thing and have a life, it's led to, and this was one of those other, ancillary conversations that this whole robot thing created was population decline. And I think it was particularly in China is where they were focusing, which we were giggling about because for years, China has said,
they've limited population.
One kid per family. And now all of a sudden, look where it got them, which goes back to what you were saying earlier about, putting yourself in the position of God.
Yeah.
We even have, there are two beautiful young women in our extended community who were adopted from China by a lady because of the population control and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, dude, we ain't got enough people, which I don't know if that's actually the case, but let's make these robots so we can have some more babies, that in and of itself, that whole idea of, population control one way or the other, more or less, seems to me kind of synthetic over family.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did I even say that? Like, is that a valid statement?
I think what we're trying to do as a society and where we've come as a society is family just becomes a box that we're ticking off. And as we're trying to tick off this box, like, we need to keep finding different ways to make it all work in our attempts to do everything. And we synthesize the parts that we can't do on our own. And
what do you mean by that? So, like, that's interesting. At least I don't know if I understand what you mean.
what I mean by that is this synthetic way of having children is synthetic of, maybe not synthesize.
Yeah, no,
but it's a synthetic way to replicate a natural process,
Right.
because the natural process doesn't fit in my plan.
Yeah.
So I need to find a better way to make the natural process work so that it fits with me.
Yeah.
And fits my timeline
Yeah.
and my schedule and my desires and my needs
Yeah.
and me.
Absolutely, Adam. I mean, that's what you're saying. Absolutely. And look, I think that mentality has been peddled by certain powers that be, if you will, that goes against the grain of what the natural, healthy, the natural desire of many women and men, and the value of family. And, it's been thrust out there that being a mother is less than being a girl boss.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I think, is just devastating. I think. I mean, like,
I don't disagree.
yeah. I mean, you've got it in your house. I mean, watching your bride, the way she's raising your kids. I mean, I love them. I'm biased, but, like, I can speak most importantly to my own is, I mean, I've watched my bride do amazing things. Like, I watch her, and she works now. She worked when we got married. She took off some time to raise the children, and she works again. She's capable in that arena, more than capable. But her desire to pull back and make those decisions and take those actions to raise those two people into, like I said, I'm biased, but I'm not wrong, amazing, ridiculously amazing human beings, is part of my work, but the bulk of it is her work. And though not every woman wants to choose that, and that is okay, it can't be said that her decision to do that is in any way wrong.
No.
Or lesser.
And I think my problem with all of it, and even why I brought my aunt up in the first place, is neither way is wrong. And this is where the value of a family comes in. Families are figuring out what works for them.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things that I talk about in marriage prep, like, and hammer home in our marriage prep classes here, are everyone is coming from different families.
Right.
And each of those families has their own system of communication, their own way of doing things, their own way of operating. And all that each party coming into the marriage knows is the system that they came from.
Yeah.
So they think that that's the only way to work. Trying to impose either of those systems, whether of communication or functionality or whatever, onto this new marriage is never going to succeed. The new couple has to figure out what their system is going to be, what works for them. And as a family, you gotta make a plan together to figure out. And it's not for anyone else to tell you this is the way that you have to do it.
Right.
And push you in and push an agenda that is telling you to do one thing or another.
Yeah. That's a great statement in whatever direction, in any topic you want to go. Like, who's your reference? Who's giving you instructions? I mean, is it God and his word, or is it anything, or anyone out in society and in culture? And very often we listen to the voice of culture, which usually leads into, just chaos. And again, like I said, I'm raising my daughters to be ferocious, and they both are. At the same time, I will never tolerate anyone to speak ill to them if they choose to marry and be homemakers and raise a family, just as my wife did. I
Exactly.
mean, I won't tolerate it because like I have watched, again, I'm bragging about my bride, but like she does things I can't do. This is one of those things too that we asked this question about, like, what's the big deal about those robots having, synthetic amniotic fluid? I mean, they can't have real amniotic fluid, I guess. So the synthetic and whatever, and we were trying to figure out what's the good or bad. But one of the things I noticed with my wife as she was carrying those children, there's some kind of weird bond going on there
Mm-hmm.
that I can't tap into, nor probably should I. Right
Yeah.
now, my daughters and I are close, and we talk and we fight about ideas, and I give them 100% of my life, and they've done the same bad. It's amazing, but there are things that their mother, my wife, she's a teacher, she's a lover, she's a guide, she's
Yeah.
a rock, she's a hammer when she needs to be. She's a voice of reason, she's a voice of compassion. She is a cooking instructor if she needs to show them how to make, like when they go to college and they got to feed themselves, like, she
Yeah.
teaches, like, on and on goes the list. And she has done things that I can never really do the way that she does them. And I understand that there are things that I have given them that she can't. But there's something, I guess, about that actual, and a lot of mothers I've talked to, as has my wife said to me, there's some kind of like, and I don't know the science, but there's some kind of connection bond that happens in utero. And the fascinating part about it, I'll end with this one. I noticed with my children, but I've also started since then noticed with a bunch of other people. Whenever they're disciplined and, however you discipline, spank them or, send them to the corner, whatever the heck you did, and if mom did the discipline, the kids would run away and then run back to mom's lap.
Yeah.
Because they know inherently that somewhere inside them, life is in the mother's womb.
Yeah.
And even if I discipline or she discipline or anyone, they would run back to their mother's lap. Not even to me. She was safety. She was home. You know what I'm saying? Home base.
Without question. If my kids hurt themselves, they don't want me.
Right.
They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to see me. They want mama.
Yeah.
My son woke up this morning. He was in a bad mood.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do anything. And I walked into his room and he just started screaming, no, 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 no. Like there was a lot of no's that were being screamed in my general direction because he didn't want me to wake him up and put him in his clothes and take him to school. His mom comes in. He just reaches up for her.
Yeah.
He gets out of his bed.
Yeah.
She just holds him, cuddles him. Now, I would have fought him all the way to get him dressed.
Yeah.
She had him dressed in 5 minutes because she just
That is a way.
hugged him and he felt safe and he was giggling by the end of it and was good to go. The minute I walked in and took his hand, he said, no, mama. And so his mother had to put him in the car. But like, they don't want.
Yeah.
There's a different kind of bond.
Yep.
And if that is taken away through synthetic means,
Yeah.
what's going to happen?
Yeah. Billy Joel, baby. She's got a way about her.
Yeah.
I don't know why it is.
Yeah.
I mean, but there is something that there's truth to it. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole at all, but I mean, that's one of the real problems with homosexual couples having, raising children, because, you have two men, you lose one part, and you have two women, you lose the other. I mean, and that's the complementality, whatever the heck the word is. I keep losing it. But the idea of a family being, with a father and a mother. And look, it is not to say this. Let me throw this out there before we get creamed, that a single dad or a single mom can't do it all on their own. My father died when I was young. My mother was a single mother from the time I was 7 and my sister was 6. So like, I get that too. And I have, just great respect for it. But the ideal should always be to have a family, so that each can contribute what they're gifted at to contribute, and be good parents to raise good people, I have definitely, now I guess we, shift into a topic about parenting and so on. But I mean, it's like, there are things that, I've done my part to the best of my ability, as limited as it may be, but to give my girls everything I can. And it's fascinating that a lot of what I had to give them as the father was discipline. And that doesn't mean abuse. So don't get on my case, people, about that kind of stuff. But like discipline is order, it's boundaries, it's instruction, it's teaching, it's didactic. I mean, the word discipline is from Latin that means a disciple, a student, like you're learning, right? Somebody's teaching you something, right? The idea is that my duty was, to teach them certain things of life. And, I definitely I think men are supposed to do two things. We're supposed to fight to conquer and to look after our family. And, one of the ways that I tried to look after my family was to raise my girls, to teach them so that if I drop dead, they're completely independent of the world. They're able, no one can really function well independently, but you get my point. Like, they don't need me.
Right.
And they did when they were 3 and 5 and 7 and 10 and 9 and so on, whatever. But now to the point where they're both, in college and all that kind of stuff, technically they don't need me. They can survive even better than I do. And that's my responsibility. I don't know. Parenting together, do your parts, everything.
Yeah. Well, Proverbs talks about this, right? And the book of Proverbs says very clearly, "Hear, my son, your father's instruction. Reject not your mother's teaching. They are a fair garland for your head and pendants for your neck." Like, it's this idea that you are adorned by the teaching of your parents.
Yeah.
And it gives you something to wear on your head, something to wear around your neck. You're accessorized by the teaching of your parents. But it's not that both go in one place, right? The teachings are different. You learn different things from your parents. Your parents are providing you with different things. And as parents, we have to recognize that. And we also have to be present for that and not leave it to someone else to do. We need to not let someone else be teaching that. We need to make sure that we are taking control of what we're teaching our children. And we need to know within within each couple, what are our roles?
Yeah.
What are we doing? How are we divvying up these responsibilities? What are the things that we're each good at that we're able to provide for our children? Where are the things that we have strength? Like, I have some strengths, my wife has some strengths. We are going to share our different strengths with our kids.
Yeah. You're totally right. I mean, so that's a great thing. Within marriage, I mean, now we're transitioning again from parenting to marriage. It should have gone with marriage first to parenting. But, what you're alluding to is you got to have conversations to figure that stuff out. I know you know that because you do that in your premarital counseling classes. But like, so many people, probably in marriage, one of the greatest, I will say this, the greatest cause for people to end up in my office or your office after marriage needing some guidance or help is poor communication.
Without question.
I mean, it's the bedrock, right?
Right.
And so in some sense, without trying to be too silly, I mean, just to make, I'll overstate the point in order to make it, like, have a conversation, write a list. I'm going to teach them this, you teach them that, where it's delineated, according to one's skills, gifts, talents, interests, and give those kids, give them bread, give them a roof. You better put clothes on them, send them to school, but teach them life, give them the gospel. That's the life changer. I mean, we saw it. Sorry to go back. Adam chose one way, Christ chose the other. One was good, one was not. Right? You better teach them that more than anything else, because they are now drawn and sucked into that line to pick Adam or Christ.
And you have to teach them by modeling it.
Yeah.
You have to show it to them. Which means that you need to be having those conversations as a couple to figure out what is going to happen and how. You have to be, I guess the way what I'm coming to is, you have to be deliberate about what it does, right? I don't like the phrase intentional, but I do like deliberate, because intentional seems weird to me. Deliberate seems like you're making a plan and then you're following it. You're mapping it out. You're seeing what is going on, right? And I think all of it that is trying to usurp everything, and that is when we don't have that plan, that's when our plans get usurped and we go down that rabbit hole of Adam, because we're listening to too many outside influences. We're listening to too many other things. And the reality is that, I mean, we can say we're basically living in a godless society. where there's so much craziness going on and trying to jump at us and usurping anything and everything that it can from us and pulling us away.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things that they're taking away is the bond with a mother.
Yeah. I mean, that's what this seems to be. This robot thing seems to be doing, is to take away the bond from a mother. Backing up one step, a lot of the good stuff you said made me think about it too. But sorry, maybe an uncomfortable conversation. But one of the things these surrogate robots can do is not create, but whatever. What's the word? Impregnate without sex.
Mm.
I mean, now it's been possible, I guess, anyways, before, but now it can be, the child can be produced and brought to term without, human interference, if you will. And, within the confines of marriage, I mean, sex has been so like bastardized in our world. It's like, it's funny. It's not only now no longer taboo to talk about and to show it and gratuitous sex scenes in all the TV shows and movies and Netflix and blah, blah. But it's not only not taboo, it's expected. It's taboo if you don't, right? And you throw this sex all over the place and it's like, sex sells, they say all that kind of stuff. And, it's been so bastardized. I think it's lost in the mainstream a lot of its inherent beauty, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the porn industry, oh my God, I'm going to tell you, like porn, forget COVID. COVID's nothing. Porn, someday we're gonna have to study and deal with that, because I mean it's everywhere. I hear it in every confession and every conversation. It's a struggle for people, because sex has been I'm losing my word, but it's been altered. It's bastardized is the word I use. Excuse the crass language, but manipulated, twisted, broken, bent, whatever. I'm losing the word. In marriage, and this is one of the things why, you would hate to, I've got this theory. All right, I'm rambling. Let me say this. For Christians, we're supposed to remain chaste until we get married. And, the whole thing, I quoted Billy Joel earlier. Same thing with, what's that song? Come Out, Virginia. Only the Good Die Young. I mean, he's trying to get a girl to go to bed with him before they're married, right? So my theory is this, so Christians are supposed to remain chaste before they get married and so on, and it's bad if you don't. Okay, fine. The Bible says, okay, fine. But here's what I've come to realize, that when you are intimate and having sex with your partner, you are completely naked with another person. And I don't necessarily just mean that in the sense of clothing, but I mean like all of your person, right? And I think that nakedness, that vulnerability, to use cheesy Brene Brown words and all the rest of that kind of stuff, the beauty of that is that you don't throw that around. It's sacred, man. You don't just make it cheap and throw it all over the place, to this, that, and the other. And how awesome if that, I'm losing the words, I'm sorry, but that coming together of those two naked people, right? In that beautiful sense of nakedness, not meaning clothing, and to produce life, that's ridiculously awesome. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of my theory on it right now, where I'm at least in my studies.
Yeah. The reality is sex brings you together in a way that nothing else can.
Yes.
Right? That's why there's such a thing as makeup sex.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a reunion. It's a
yes,
bringing you back. And
absolutely.
All of it is as much as there is sex everywhere and anywhere, as you put it out, it's usurping the actual beauty of it and what it's actually intended for and why it's actually there.
Right.
And coming together to create a life is ridiculously amazing.
I mean, that's the point. I mean, yes, sex is, for the good of the couple and the bonding and, the makeup sex, like you said, and the reunification, all that's there. My point that I was trying to make is this. It's that in that sharing the fullness of oneself with the other person, and that act produces a life, that's amazing. Don't take that by putting it into a robot. Right. And look, not every time a couple has sex, they have a kid. And not every couple's able to have sex and able to have children, and on the list. And those, I don't need these trolls out there to pound me for that statement, but the statement retains its veracity.
Right.
The fruit of those moments, as infrequently as it comes, right? Like, so we have 2 children, you have 2, and like, so it's not like every time. That is usurped by this synthetic approach that they're doing. And so, I mean, I only even bring that up to say that, like, within the confines of Christian marriage, you know, it's awesome. Anyways. So with that, all of that, like, Deacon Greg, it's, where's all this coming from? I mean, not just the robot stuff, but all the stuff we're talking about. It's like, what's producing this? Where do we get all this?
Well, I think you use the word usurpation.
Usurpation?
Usurpation? It's usurped.
Usurping.
It's usurping. I think what's ultimately, and I said something like this a little bit ago, usurping everything and pushing its own agenda and pulling us off of the path that is following God's will is the product of basically a godless society, right? I mean, like you mentioned China and the population decline earlier in our convo. China is a communist country. Communism works very hard to take God out of the equation as a way to control people. And it's basically like a major tenet that you have to take God from people so and then are able to control them and do whatever you want with them and make them follow you and make them follow what you want. Well, we don't live in a communist society here in the United States, but we live in a society that is still doing that.
Yeah.
That is still trying to control and manipulate and pull God out of anywhere and everything that it can.
Yeah.
And when it does that, it puts a different agenda forward. And that agenda is stuck following the way of Adam and constantly and consistently pulling us away from the way of Christ.
You know, you were talking about the communism. I mean, that's Marx's theory, right? He was criticized. A lot of his critics talk about what he used. He says religion is the opiate of the masses. Right? Yeah, like that's their control. We'll get rid of it, and now the government will be the opiate of the masses. Like, you know, that's all he did, really. You know, or at least in its grandest expression in Soviet communism and Chinese communism, I guess. But you know, but you're right. I mean, we've done the same thing now, just under a less aggressive guise.
Yeah.
I mean, now, you know, the powers that be, the 9 that we always joke about, they have used dopamine to get us in line, you know, like with all the clicks and hits on the phone and the likes and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, and constant bombardment with advertising and all the marketing that they do, that now they have made, for many people, God is no longer the reference. His word is no longer the instruction to live under life. And like you say, it has been twisted to the Adam mentality, where like, I'll take some of me and my idea and my ego. I mean, you're dead on with it. That's all they've done. They tricked us as opposed to forcing it with, you know, tanks and AK-47s, but it's the same control. And many people have bought into it. And yet also, this is an interesting thing for me to see. Maybe we should track this one day. But there are so many people who have seen it, have bought into it, and at some point had a realization that this is not the way to go, and have started a mass exodus from corruption and a mass
return.
I was going to say exodus, usurpation. That was what you were looking for earlier. Usurpation. They've left that chaos and have come back. I mean, you know as well as I do, they've come back to traditional values and faith. I mean, our church that we serve is exploding. I mean, we can't even keep up. Our hairs are all turning gray because there's so many beautiful people, because they see that the outcome of living in a godless society leads only to chaos, fear, pain, depression, suffering, on and on and on.
Well, and so often this idea that traditional means bad.
Yeah.
Traditional is old, and old is not good. You need the new, you need the shiny, you need the this, you need the that. So that's where, back to the conversation about being a girl boss versus being a mother. Like, being a mother is bad and looked down on because you're not supposed to do that because it's traditional and it's therefore bad.
Yeah.
Right? You shouldn't go to church because church is antiquated and therefore bad. You need the newest thing. You need the newest it. You need what you need, because what you need is for you, and you matter. You are special. You are the top. You are the pinnacle. And therefore, you will never find what is fit for you until you take something that is out of you and gives you the reflection of you.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. You said it, Adam. It's the serpent, man. You know,
It's
like,
all. And then you become like God.
You become like God. It was funny too. Like, you know, it's become, and it's, people are schizophrenic. Things are not good that are old, but yet some things you got to have vintage, right? Like I was thinking about houses. When we bought our first house, Allie and I, it was, you know, normal frame construction. And it was, you know, for us, it was not inexpensive, but you know, based on that, what it would sell for today was totally, you know, inexpensive. But as we got older and had, you know, decided to buy a bigger home for a growing family, and so we were looking for block construction, right? Because it's solid. You know, a wooden frame house, I mean, you risk for example, the risk of termites, and that's a whole, you know, thing. And we have a lot of them here where we live. Block construction, however, is strong and it's not going to fall, and the big bad wolf can't blow it down. He's going to huff and puff. And so now it became cool to look for block construction, right? So the thing about that is that block construction was something they did way back. They don't do it anymore because it's too expensive, right? So like you can see that, well, being a mother is bad. Being a girl boss is good. That's new and modern, but oh no, we got to have a block construction house. You know, like, so at some point, maybe that leads to the idea that, you know what, some things of days gone by should be left and some things should be retained. And some things of today should be left behind, and maybe some can be retained.
Yeah. And I think what is retained are the things that withstand the test of time.
Yeah.
And try as you might to get rid of traditional religion and all of that stuff. Call it obsolete all that you want.
Yeah, I like that book.
But at some point, it's going to withstand the test of time, because Christ's way is the way that works. Christ's way is the way that shows you a path through the chaos so that you can come out clear on the other side.
Go forth and baptize. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, teaching them all that I've commanded you. And lo, I am with you always to the close of the age. I mean, he's making the statement that this is timeless. And people can fight against it. And people do fight against it and have fought against it. And I think the reason now I'm getting hot and sweaty, because they are afraid.
Yeah.
Because they know the truth, the veracity of the gospel of Jesus Christ is the only game changer. It is the only life enhancer. It's the only transformative agent. And it transforms us, you know, obviously, for those who believe it, when we die, the possibility of eternal life, whatever that's like. But I think it can also transform us in this life, you know, where we start to live exceptionally, you know, powerful, meaning-filled lives, where we impact with a purpose that serves other people, that is not always looking to me, i.e. Adam, and my I'll be God and my ego, and that we we keep going forward to serve, to do good, to, you know, make a difference and impact, change the world. I mean, that's the only thing that gets it done, is that sacrificial, what we say, crucifixional life, which is, you know, for me, and I think for all of our warrior saints, it's the only way. And that scares the hell out of those people that are fighting against it, that are stuck in ego, because, they've got a formidable enemy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We live in a society that is still following Adam's way, a society that is in Adam, that is Adamic. Yeah. And we're fighting to find a way through that society so that we can get back to the way of the warrior saint, the way of Christ.
I mean, I would not have said it any better. And that's the point. Maybe that why you and I sweat and work so hard and grind and as much grit as we can pull up, you know, to come here daily and to teach in our parish and our, you know, homilies and all that stuff, to give that message of hope to people who have recognized that this is a godless society, and of which this robot thing may only be just one example of. And yet they long for something more. They look for that transformation, and they don't know where to look, and all of a sudden they find the gospel, and they're like, oh, there it is. And so I guess this was a good one today, by the way. I had fun with this. It was interesting where it, the turns it took, but I can say this, I guess, to our people this is why we have the Way of the Warrior Saint at our website, because we're doing our darndest to teach that alternative, which is not really even an alternative. It's the only way, but it's the alternate way from what the society is, putting out there. And I mean, we talked about it today. We have that Genesis challenge. I mean, that's where it starts, man. It's the first book in the book. You should start at the beginning like you do in every other book. Read it with us, 26 days. You download it, put in free month. That's the promo code. You get a free month. But in there, we also have Matthew, which we talked about earlier a lot. And we also have the book of Revelation, which we've studied. And it's great, especially because people don't always get that one, And we were talking earlier about lions. And I was thinking, like, in Revelation, the lion of the tribe of Judah is the king. And who does the seer John see? When he looks at the lion, he sees the slaughtered lamb. I mean, Christ on the cross. There it is. That's the lionhood, right? Or the way that we find lionness, if I can make up that word. Anyways, Lionity. All right, there you go. We've made up a lot of words today.
Yeah, we have.
This was awesome. I appreciate you and the time and your thought and the banter and all the work you did to make this happen. And the rest of our team, Aaron, too, was over here with us today. Thank you for all your work. We love you, beautiful people. Thank you for being with us, for watching. Let me just make this last little pitch about this weekend and going forward. Check our website. On that website, warriorsaints.org. You will see the Genesis Challenge. Join us. We're challenging you. Bring it. Let's see if you can do it. Can you read Genesis in 26 days? I think you can do it. It's 2 chapters a day, basically. And if you do that, read it, you're along with us here in our local community. We're trying to make this a larger community. And if you type in, when you put your email and all that stuff, you type in the code free month, and it means exactly that. It will then give you access to our classes, the full classes on Genesis. We go through every single chapter. So there's 50 plus videos in there. There are 50 chapters, but we did some extras, intros, and all right. So you can follow along and learn. And as you read the stories and you're like, what? I don't get it. And what? That's crazy. Let us explain it to you. So join us. We really encourage you to do it. It's good. It was for me, it was groundbreaking to film it, to study it and teach it. So anyways, it's there for you if you so choose. Share it, like it, pass it around, do all that good stuff. We will be back Sunday for Orthros and Divine Liturgy. No. This week we won't, right?
We'll be back with Orthros and Typica.
We will be back with Orthros and Typica at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is also Arizona time. We will not have Orthros because I am traveling. One of our deacons will be ordained to the priesthood. So we'll have a new priest in our parish, and I'm going to go celebrate his ordination with him. And so Deacon Greg will lead us, and he will serve the Orthros and Typica service with our other clergy. So join us then. We will be back the following Monday for all the good stuff. Love you. Have a great weekend. As always, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.